In this video, I want to talk to you about the Janome Memory Craft 9450 QCP. This particular machine is in the top of the line of the larger throated machines that Janome makes. It has quite a few features that quilters and garment sewers really love. So let's dive into this machine and I'll give you a good overview of it. First thing you're going to notice on the 9450 is you have 11 inches from the needle to the inside of the sewing arm. This is going to give you plenty of room to roll up the quilt you're working with, or just having more room to actually have your hands on the fabric while we're doing free motion or just doing sewing. The machine will come with a large extension table, so I can remove the accessory tray on the machine, and then I can be able to slide the table around because it is made to fit around this sewing arm. If you'll notice, the sewing arm is a lot longer, so when I'm doing hemming of pants, shirt sleeves, things of that nature, I can get my stitching further up my garment, my pant leg, or my shirt sleeve. Another thing you'll notice, there's no more screws to take out on the needle plate. There's one button that we push and it pops the needle plate out. You will get a single hole needle plate that'll come with it. There are a lot of error messages that'll pop up on the machine, so you're not going to do anything to damage your machine. There are sensors built into the machine, so when I have the single stitch plate on the machine, it's going to know it, and if I try to do another stitch, it'll beep and tell me there'll be a message pop up that you can't do this particular stitch with the single hole plate on the machine. The 9450 will have 350 sewing, utility, and quilting stitches on it. I have a lot of different utility stitches. I have several quilting stitches, applique stitches, and we'll go over that in more detail a little further in the video. But you're going to have everything right at your beck and call right here on the placard. All I have to do is match up on my screen, letters, everything is thematic on this machine, so I don't have to push 15 buttons to get to where I want to go. It's all laid out on my computer screen real nice and easy for me to pull the stitch up on the machine. I will have very easy threading on the 9450. It's a horizontal spool pin. You do have a vertical pin that can go right here, so if I want to do twin needle sewing, or if I'm working with a different size spool, I'm able to use it vertically on the machine. You can get other thread stands for the 9450, and Ken's Sewing Center will carry all the optional accessories for this machine. It does have a lot of accessories that come with it standard, but if you have questions on anything extra to go with it, we carry it and we have great prices on all the accessories for it. When I get ready to thread the machine, I have my horizontal spool pin here. Everything is going to be channeled for me all the way down to my needle. I do have the needle threader built in. The lever's right here on the side of the machine. Makes it real easy for me to thread the machine. Has the top drop-in bobbin system. I can see my bobbin at any given time. There are markings on the bobbin case cover as well as on my needle plate if I want to use that for a seam allowance. Now the 9450 does come with a larger seam gauge. I can pop onto the machine. On the top of the bed here there are rulers built in, so I can move that seam gauge over and get it where I want to measure off from my needle, and I can keep my fabric straight as I'm doing it. There's a ruler on the front here to help you with quick measurements as well. Threading my bobbin is going to be extremely easy. There's one place I put the thread and I actually move it through its channel as well. There's a little razor built in on the top there to clip that excess off. I will have the built-in knee lift. I can actually put a knee lift in and raise and lower my presser foot with my right leg, so I can keep my hands on my fabric as I'm sewing. And here is a balancer to balance the buttonhole out. So sometimes the left side or the right side of my buttonhole, depending on what type of thread I'm working with or what buttonhole I'm working with, may be a little thicker or thinner than the other side. I can balance that out here so everything looks nice and neat. It will come with a special one-step buttonhole foot that I can place the button I'm working with, and it's going to size it every time to that specific size button. I have all these different buttonholes built in on the machine to do different styles. On the front of my screen here, it's a color screen. I do have the ability to change background settings. I can override the speed of the machine here. It will come with a foot control, but I also do have the start stop button. So if I don't want to use my foot control, I'm ready to go here. Green means go and red will mean stop on this machine. Now it will have the pivot feature. I can raise and lower my presser foot just by pushing a button. This is really nice to have when I get to the end of a seam. If I'm doing applique work, I can hit this button. It's going to raise and lower my presser foot for me so I can make that turn. It will have the needle up, needle down feature that I can stop the machine and have it stop needle in the fabric. And that's great for turning those corners or doing applique work. Most of the time you're going to want it needle out of the fabric, so don't forget and jerk the fabric, maybe ripping a hole in the fabric or breaking a needle. Janomes are known for the auto lock feature. This is a really nice feature to have on the machine because it will tie that stitch off for me underneath so it's hidden and out of the way. You know, maybe on your machine you don't have this feature and all you have is reverse. You can definitely tell when you did a back tack. Well, you'll never use reverse again with the 9450 because I can hit that button there and it's going to tie that stitch off for me underneath so my back tack is actually hidden and out of the way. It's going to greatly improve the appearance of your fabric and your projects on top. On the 9450 on the side of the machine, I do have a USB port built in. There is a Stitch Composer program that comes with the machine. Stitch Composer is going to allow me to create my own stitch. So if you want to have a quilt or a garment and have it have a vintage look like you did it by sewing by hand, you can actually plot out points where the needle will penetrate the garment and create your own stitch. Customize your quilt or your garment to your liking. Nobody else will have that type of stitch but you, and you can save that stitch on the machine and be able to use it over and over again as time goes on. The 9450 is going to give me 300 sewing, quilting, and utility stitches built in. Everything is going to be laid out thematically on the machine. I've got the utility, buttonhole, applique, heirloom, quilting stitches, satin stitches, my bridge stitches. I have a decorative stitch mode, an elongation stitch mode, and a pictograph stitch mode, a play stitch mode, and I have alphabets built in for making garment tags, quilt labels. When I have my straight stitch needle plate on, these are going to be the two different selections we'll have available for us. There is a straight stitch needle plate that'll come with it, and there's a professional grade needle plate that'll come with it, as well as a foot that'll allow me to do even better, more precise piecing and straight stitch sewing. So the 9450 is the total package when it comes to sewing, quilting, and garment construction. The 9450 does have the ability for me to go up to 9 millimeters in width on my sewing stitches. On length, I can go up to 5 millimeters. And on the machine, I do have the ability to change the stitch in tenths of a millimeter. So you're going to be more precise in how you can change stitch length and stitch width on the machine. This separates the 9450 from a lot of the other machines on the market. I do have straight stitch, so 2 stitches forward and 1 reverse. I'm going to have my elastic stitches. I have overcast stitches built in on the machine. A lot of different blind hem stitches, left tack and right tack, either sharp ends or blunt ends, and that's going to depend on your personal preference. I do have the 1-step buttonholes in. I have standard square end, rounded end, double rounded end, the keyhole style, and I have stretch buttonholes built in. I have a way to make eyelets. When I get into applique stitches, if you'll notice here, these are in darker. I can sew 2 stitches forward and it sews 2 stitches over, so it makes that applique stitch a lot thicker. I have different thin ones, left tack and right tack on the applique stitches, so you have so many more selections. I've got blanket stitches. You heirloom sewers will really love this. Get you a wing needle and put these entre-deux stitches on the machine. It's going to be really pretty for making little girls' dresses or if you're doing eyelets and things of that nature. All the different quilting stitches built in on this machine. Now, Janome listened to our customers and they added quite a few different decorative stitches and quilting stitches that you can use on your quilt tops. We can memorize these stitches together if we want to make a decorative border or use that and do that as a stippling portion of our quilt. I have different satin stitches available, and me adjusting the length and the width when I'm doing a satin stitch makes a big difference of how these stitches will look. I can mirror image these stitches as well, and that actually almost doubles the amount of stitches this machine is capable of doing. I have more decorative stitches here. Same thing, I can memorize patterns and do a real pretty decorative border all along down through here. When I get to my alphabets built in, I have upper and lowercase and all these different fonts built into the 9450. So as you'll see, the 9450 is going to be really easy to use when I go to my computer screen. The machine is super easy to operate, so I have everything categorized by modes. If I look on the placard built into the machine, go into the touch screen here, when I change the width or the length on any of my sewing patterns, this is the actual size of the stitch I'm working with. So there's no more having to test fabric swatches. I can actually see what that's going to look like in true size, width and length before I sew it out. That takes a lot of guesswork out of what we're doing. So all I have to do is go to my different modes. I can pull those up on the screen. If I want to do an applique stitch, I'll just pull that up. Machine shows me what stitch I'm on. It recommends a presser foot. Now all the Janome feet have letters indented into them, so I know exactly which presser foot that I need to have on the machine for a different application. And I just go right on down the line. I can page over to see all the different stitches that are on the machine. There is a sewing advisor. There is a sewing advisor built in on the machine that will give me for different applications the stitch I need to have it on, the presser foot I need to use, and gives me some tips and tricks on how to do that particular application. I can go in on the hard drive of my machine and I can change a lot of things to the background screen. Everybody's eyes are different, so if I need to darken that, make the background a different color, or maybe I want to try to match a fabric that I'm doing to see how my stitch will look on a background piece of fabric. I can also adjust the increments from inches to metrics if you have a pattern that calls for that. I can easily do that, or go right back to inches and I'm ready to go. I can change the volume on the machine. If you don't like the loud beeping, I can turn that completely off, and I can just keep paging through to doing different things on the machine, calibrations. And don't worry, you're not going to do anything to erase anything on the hard drive of the machine. This just gives you more customization to the hard drive of the machine to set it to your liking. The machine does have a lock built in, so if you have little ones or people that you don't want to accidentally hit a button and start sewing, when you get up to leave, you can always hit lock, and there's no way anybody can unlock it. They'd have to push a lot of buttons to get to where they want to go. You know how to unlock it. It'll be very easy for you to go right back to where you left off, unlock it, and start sewing again. On the 9450, there's other features I really do like on the machine. Another thing you'll really notice is the illumination to the bed of the machine. There's 9 LED lights built in. It's going to fully cover the entire sewing bed that you're working with. And plus, there's another light you can pop out, and there's an adjustment we can make so we can get the light going right down to the needle. If you'll notice my distance from the top here to my needle plate, Janome has made this a little bit higher, so it makes our angle of viewing of our needle even better. As I'm sitting at my machine, I'm going to be able to see a lot more of what I'm wanting to do. Another thing that's really going to separate the 9450 from a lot of the other models that are on the market is I have the AccuFeed system. Now this is going to be similar to a walking foot, but it actually has even more functions to it. Because our stitch length and our stitch width are in tenths of millimeters, I have the ability to do a lot more stitches, length and width wise. The AccuFeed system has a place right here that interfaces right behind the needle of the machine, so it's even more sensitive to stitch length and stitch width. So when I'm wanting to have the AccuFeed on, or it's the same thing as a walking foot, I'm able to do that, and I can also change the soles out on this particular foot. There's 4 or 5 available right now, and Janome's working on more. Ken Sewing Center is your authorized Janome dealer. We carry everything that's made for the 9450. Any machine you purchase from us, you're going to get our premium support package. You have us for the life that you own the machine. I have 4 full-time technicians. They're at our store 6 days a week to help you with any kind of mechanical problem you're having. I have educators that can help you with any kind of question you have on the machine, what accessory you need to do a project, or maybe what accessory works with the machine. Never hesitate to give us a call. Check it out on the website. Drop us an email, give us a call anytime. We'll be glad to help you.